What is good, guys? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one I want to break down what's happening with Tesla, SPY, NVIDIA, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what's happening with the economic calendar moving forward, what's going on with other factors involved in the market, so what you should be watching for as time progresses. But before I begin the devil's information, let me just mention a few things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Weeble link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Weeble and deposit $500, you are guaranteed 20 free stocks. You deposit $25,000 or more, you're guaranteed 75 of them, and the offer ends very soon in just a couple of weeks. Anyways, looking at SPY, as you guys can see, we've broken all-time highs exactly as we predicted. We're also seeing Tesla continue to consolidate within the range that is in, and that's actually going to be very important for us moving forward. Now, when it comes to Tesla, I do want to talk about a couple of setups. There is a head and shoulders forming on the shorter-term time frames, which could lead to a possible dip if we end up losing support. And then if we also look at this little liquidity grab right here, this does kind of favor downside a bit more as we've been downtrending a bit for the last couple of days. However, like I said before, that's the shorter term. The more medium term is showing a much larger inverse head and shoulders that does still show upside potential for Tesla, regardless of some short term downside. So I want to break down more information about this as time goes on. I want to talk about the news and such first. First, know that tomorrow is going to be Thursday, June 6th, 2024. 1 hour before the market opens, we have the exports and imports data coming out. We also have initial jobless claims, continuing jobless claims. Then 2 hours after the market opens, we have the 4-week and 8-week bill auctions coming out. That's going to be very, very important as well. We'll see how all of this affects the markets. But the main time to be looking for data is 1 hour before the market opens with initial jobless claims. That's going to give us more insights on what's happening with the labor market. That's key for how things are actually continuing. Now, on top of all of this, I just wanted to mention that when it comes to other factors for earnings, we just have NEO announcing earnings before the market opens alongside Big Lots and a few others, not to mention DocuSign after the market closes, but very, very minor earnings for the rest of the week. For other pieces of data, right now the fear and greed index is currently at neutral. We used to be more on the fearful side, now we're back to neutral after we saw a little dip in the markets, but we're still holding up nicely as the market's pushing. Now, moving forward, right now extreme greed makes up the current momentum. The market has lots of bulls who are dictating the price action, and they are in full control. The puts and call option positioning is also currently at greed, as we're starting to see a little dip right over here. That's actually another important signal that right now, puts are being closed, calls are being bought, and there's a lot more delta hedging that's continuing. That's kind of impacting how this is moving. So greed is now becoming more and more imminent. And then we also have market volatility, the VIX, rejecting off our 50 daily moving average right over here. So we have a gap to fill below. The VIX is looking more bearish because the market has more upside potential, and that remains as is. Now, let me note when it comes to Tesla, we have some very, 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 very promising pieces of news, in my opinion. Has built 50 million 4680 battery cells at the Giga Texas. Absolutely incredible work from the entire team. They just announced this, and this makes me very, very excited. Hopefully, this causes a little pop in the share price, but it might not be that crazy. On top of that, for now, with the 4680 production increasing significantly in Texas, with them producing this many, and also as many as just under a million in a week, which is like their record, which is absolutely incredible. I think that's very, very awesome. Just in 2023 of June last year, they produced their 10 millionth cell. Now they've done 40 million, which is incredible, and this growth is going to be very, very huge for them moving forward. So great news for Tesla. On top of this, there is some news about Cathie Wood and NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang. They are agreeing that Tesla has huge AI opportunity, and I can't agree any more than that. So that's actually incredible. I think that Tesla is once again in such an incredible place, and Cathie Wood does believe that Tesla could go as high as $2,000 per share by 2027, based off her models. When you do account for AI, and I agree that there's going to be a lot of growth potential for Tesla because Tesla's still in a growth phase, and we've seen what this thing could do when the time is right. Yes, it could run like crazy. Ron Barron is also in favor of Elon Musk's $56 billion pay package because that was what the directors agreed to before. They are shifting their views, at least as of recent. He's mentioning that there's many reasons as to why this is happening, but he believes that Musk has kept his word. And you have to remember that Musk is helping a lot of people make insane gains off Tesla alongside the Tesla team. And then you can't forget about the future of Tesla. There's going to be so much more upside coming. So his view is that, yes, the board already agreed with this, and it's just wrong for them to kind of back down, and that Elon Musk deserves it. So yeah, I mean, he made a very, very valid point, and I think that's very important. So with that being said, I mean, I will once again just respect whatever the shareholders agree on this. The shareholder meeting is going to be on June 13th, so that's going to be huge for Tesla, and I can't wait to see what the future holds. It's a little bit over a week from now. For volume, we had about we had about 58 million, a little bit below average, but not the worst. That's why Tesla saw a lot of sideways range bound price action. Looking at the short volume at 62%, that's important. Not to mention, GLJ Research is currently reiterating a sell rating. And we also have the price price ratio kind of dipping a little bit more. This has dipped a bit because, once again, Tesla is losing a little bit more strength. Then we also have, when it comes to seasonality, do not forget that Thursdays tend to be green about 48% of the time. So it tends to be a weaker day historically. And then we tend to see more volatility and more green around 10 a.m. and around noon. So we'll see how things end up going. Now, as far as Tesla goes, let's make this very, very clear that for Tesla, we have a nice head and shoulders like structure for the shorter term, and we formed kind of like a double top right here. So it is looking a little bit weaker, but this depends on how we end up closing tomorrow. If Tesla closes below 173, yes, Tesla could be dipping down to the very low 170s, if not down to 168 to fill this gap before it tries to bounce again. If we end up holding up and we break above 176.5 and eventually 178, then we could be pushing for 180 plus and higher levels. But looking at this head and shoulders, there's a risk of it dipping a little bit more. Also, we have this nice little liquidity beat that was being drawn over here. And as a result, Tesla's been kind of downtrending from that point on. So you guys can see that the trend right now is a little bit more in favor of Tesla dipping, but there's no confirmation yet until we officially close below 173, which Tesla has not done yet. So right now, the chart is still in a range, the 173 to 180 range. But there is a risk of it dipping a little bit lower, as we did see, once again, these factors. So please keep that in the back of your mind. Now, let's just say Tesla does, whether it does get a dip or not, depends on if we lose supports, but we do have a bullish structure that's developing overall. And this is actually very simple. So short term, with this head and shoulders, it is possible we actually come down to, fill the gap, or maybe we dip a little bit. But for the medium term, even if we do come down, we still have a left shoulder here. We have a head over here. We have a right shoulder potentially forming, which could lead to a big bounce, possibly after the shareholder meeting. I find that to be very probable, and I think that that's what's going to likely end up happening. So I favor that more for Tesla. We'll have to see how things go from there, but that is looking more prominent in my personal opinion. Now, for SPY, this looks like a very, very nice looking cup and handle, by the way. Very, very nice breakout on SPY. We called new all time highs, and lo and behold, all time highs are here. So the question is, what's going to happen? I think that SPY is at some key resistance at 535. I think we're going to be testing that tomorrow, and we'll have to see how SPY reacts to that level. If we do break through it, watch 536 as resistance. If we lose it, watch 534, which is where we actually tried to bounce off of during the after hours. If we lose that, I'll be looking at 532.5. In my personal opinion, I think that there's a good chance that SPY is going to try to push a little higher between 535 to 536 and shuffle for a bit and trade sideways. And we could see a rejection depending on how it ends up reacting, or we could see the next leg. We'll just have to wait and see. But I think we're going to pop a bit more and see some sideways price action in this range. And we'll see how SPY performs after that. So look for a little bit more upside, sideways price action here in the 530s, and then we'll see what the reaction is after that. I find that to be more probable. For NVIDIA, if we lose 1225, I'll be looking at 1200 flat. If we break and continue to push to 1240 to 1250, I'll be looking at 1264 next. Overall, we're looking bullish on NVIDIA. I think it could go a little higher, get close to 1250. I see more upside potential for NVIDIA, but once we get to those higher levels, we might see a lot of shuffling. And I think that's what's going to likely happen. It goes a little higher, then we start to shuffle for a bit. That is, in my opinion, the most likely possibility. When it comes to other factors, I want to make it very clear that when it comes to Bitcoin's now in a very, very interesting position right over here. We have this support right over here at our 20 EMA, the 70,100 area, and we have resistance at 71,640. My guts tells me Bitcoin may dip just a little bit. We could be retesting around the 70,500 mark right over here, then try to bounce back up towards that 72,000 area. So it's still bullish overall with a nice double bottom, so it still favors the bulls. For more tickers, I want to make it very clear that for now, when we look at the QQQ, we are looking more bullish. Nice breakout is what ended up happening thus far. Let me make it very clear that as we're pumping, we have this resistance around 464. If we break this, I'll be looking at 466, then 468. Our support is also currently at 460. Basically, it's 463 area. If we lose that, I'll be looking at 461 as our next potential support. So in my personal opinion, the QQQ is bullish on the 4-hour time frame. There's a good chance it's going to try to continue to push higher. Could we dip a bit before trying? Yes. I think we could be pushing for 464 and eventually higher levels. But I think that once we get up to about 465, I think that we're going to see a little bit of sideways price action, and then we'll have to see what the reaction is after that. So look for a little bit more upside, some sideways price action, and then we'll see what the reaction is from there. For Apple, we basically have this resistance around 196, and we have support currently at 195. I wouldn't be surprised if we kind of pop a little bit and make our way back down, trade sideways. So we will see how it ends up going. But overall, the structure is still bullish on Apple, and there is more potential upside in my personal opinion. For Neo, and by the way, guys, that's it for the main five. Like I typically say, now I'm gonna just be going on a speed run for the rest of these. Neo has earnings tomorrow. If earnings go well, we have an inverse head and shoulders structure that may lead to more upside for a push to $6. If we're bearish, we want to see it lose 5.13. If that fails us, we're going to be dipping down to 4.9 or below that. So the technicals do look a bit more bullish. We have a bullish looking pattern, and we're trying to turn on the 4 hour. So it favors a balance for tomorrow, especially because Neo may have good guidance as they're opening a new factory. They're getting some good sales, good growth. So overall, the odds do favor upside, but it depends on earnings and such. For Palantir, we're looking more bullish overall. We have a nice double bottom like structure. If we continue to pump, I'll be looking at basically this 523.2. I'm sorry, 23.25 area, not 523. Sorry about that, guys. 23.25 is going to be our next target. If you get a rejection and watch 22.5 as support, I favor a push to at least 23.25 to 23.5 as the most likely possibilities. For Supermicro, I think that if we keep pushing, I'll be looking at resistance at 825. If we lose support at 800, we're going to be dipping down to 780. I favor a push up to about 825 as the most likely possibility. For Rivian, we're looking at, we look like we want to push more, but we have some tough resistance around 11.5. But we're forming overall, let me just zoom out a bit more and show you this, a nice inverse head and shoulders. I find that to be the most likely possibility. So with 11.5, being the area right over here, if we do push through this, I'll be looking for a push all the way up towards 11.7. If you reject, we'll be dipping all the way down to 11.08. But in my personal opinion, I think there is upside potential, at least in Rivian. So I'll be watching to see if we try to push up towards 11.5. In my personal opinion, that's looking more probable. So we'll have to see how things end up going. For SoFi, if we break past 6.92, then we'll be pushing all the way up to $7. If we reject here, we'll be dipping all the way down to 6.84. In my personal opinion, there's a good chance it's going to be trying to push towards $7, and I favor that even more. So I think there might be a little bounce coming to SoFi if we just try to get back above this resistance. We'll see how it ends up reacting, but we could be looking for a test of 7. For the IWM Russell 2000, we have a nice double bottom like structure. We actually held support. We have resistance at this 205 area. If we break through this, I'll be looking at about 206.5. If you reject off this, watch 204 is support. If we lose that, 203 is coming. My gut is telling me it's going to kind of dip a bit and try to go a little higher. I think it might try to be pushing all the way up to 206. So I favor a little bit of a push to the upside. For AMD, we're looking more bullish overall. I did mention to you all that AMD had a head and shoulders, and I was kind of concerned about it. But I told you to watch for confirmation. If we lost 158, we'll be dipping all the way down to fill this gap. It was looking a little bit weaker yesterday after getting a big dip, but we got some bullish news which helped it bounce, and this head and shoulders has not ended up playing out so far. So because we held 158, we didn't lose critical support. We're trying to rebound, and we're back above 164. My analysis is very simple. If we lose 164, we turn bearish, we'll be dipping all the way down to the low 160 area to fill the gap. If we're bullish, we want to see it push up to the imbalance towards 170. In my personal opinion, with the 4-hour time frame looking more bullish, 170 is more probable in my eyes. For other factors like ARM is looking more bullish as well for a very, very nice looking push. And I favor upside as a strong possibility as we have this imbalance to fill towards the 140 area. I favor the upside, so I think we're going to most likely get up to about 140, and I think that that's most likely what's going to be the case. For Coinbase, I think that this will likely continue to pump. I think that there's a very, very good chance that this could try to go a little higher. In order for this to happen, we have to try to fill this imbalance. I think that 255 is going to come to 258. And if we end up rejecting off here, we have support all the way down at 247. My guts tells me we're going to try to hold 250. We might even try to break through it to get up to about 255. So the technicals look more bullish. For Amazon, we're looking more bullish. I'll be looking for a test of about 182. If we break through that, we're easily going all the way up towards about 183.5 all over again. If we end up losing 180, look for a test of 179.64. If that fails us, we'll be dipping even lower. But so far, this chart looks more bullish, and it does favor upside as a stronger possibility. For Meta, we're looking, in my personal opinion, a little bit more bullish. And the reason for that is because one of the things is I called out the 495 area yesterday. I said that we're going to likely get to the 490s on Meta. And we ended up reaching those levels, which is actually a pretty good sign in my personal opinion. So with that being said, I think that we're easily going up to 500 tomorrow. If we lose 490, I could actually adjust and turn a little bit more bearish, but I don't favor that. I think we're more likely to remain bullish and push up towards 500 plus. For Microsoft, I think that for Microsoft, there's a good chance we continue to push. Watch resistance around 423.5 and then 425. If we end up projecting, we'll be looking at 420. I favor upside a bit more for 425. For Google, we're also looking more bullish. If we continue to push, I'll be looking for a test of about 177.5 and eventually 178. And if we end up projecting, then we'll be dipping all the way down towards 176. So I favor upside a bit more. For GME, GameStop, I said yesterday, if we lost 25, I will turn bearish. If we held 25, I think we could bounce to 32. And what happened, that's exactly where we went to. That's the exact level I called out. So now, as long as we hold above 27, we remain bullish. And also, if we try to break resistance, I'm going to be looking for 35 as our next potential target and eventually the 40s. So the chart does favor a bounce and more upside now as we pass the test from yesterday. For AMC, I said if we lost 4.64 yesterday, we would likely see a dip on AMC to fill the gap. And if we held above this, look for a bounce towards at least $5. And that's what happened. We got the bounce. So for tomorrow, we might retest 5 flat, maybe go a little lower and try to rebound. I wouldn't be surprised if we actually try to retest 5.3 and eventually push higher. So look for a little dip and a bounce. For DJT is trying to turn on the 4-hour time frame. We're going to be looking for a test of 47.25 and eventually higher levels. So I favor a little bit more upside as a stronger possibility. On top of this, when it comes to the way the VIX is moving, the VIX has this gap to fill all the way down here. I think there's a good chance we're going to likely see this dip down to fill this gap because the market has more upside coming. For the 10-year Treasury yield, notice that we have kind of like we have a bearish looking structure right over here. We lost support right here. We have a gap to fill down here, so we're going to likely see this dip because the market's going to likely pop more. And then also the dollar index is forming a head and shoulders, but we're just trying to hold 104, so we'll have to see what the reaction is. I think tomorrow we're going to be testing 102.32. If you get a big rejection and lose 104, 104.32. If we lose that and reject and lose 104, we turn bearish. That's going to be bullish for the markets. If not, it is what it is. But my view of the market is simple. I think there's more upside potential. The market's going to push more. But I think what's going to happen is, although we could push more, the market's going to have some tough resistance, and we're going to have to see what the reaction is from there. But I still favor that push to the upside is a stronger possibility. For a little bit more upside before we see the market kind of range bound a bit and start to shuffle a little bit. So for Tesla is still range bound. If we break 180, I will turn more bullish. If we lose 173, I will turn more bearish. We are stuck in the middle. However, with these wicks forming over here and this bearish structure for the past 3 days, there's a higher probability that this might actually dip a little bit. So just be careful, especially considering that there's a head and shoulders. But I will not turn bearish unless I see confirmation of a break, and we'll be waiting for that just to be safe. All right. So wait for confirmation for Tesla, give it the time it needs, and we're going to be very, very patient. Like I said yesterday, we are like snipers. We're just waiting for the opportunity to pounce for a big, big, big move. And very soon it's going to come to Tesla, in my opinion, either by or approaching the shareholder meeting or sooner than that. So within the next week, I think Tesla's going to make a huge move. It's going to try to break out of its range. And the shareholder meeting could be one big factor, or even any news starting tomorrow. So we'll just have to wait and see. But soon, a big move is coming. So get ready, guys. Do what you have to do. And I'll see you guys very soon on the next one. Thank you for listening. I'll see you guys tomorrow, and peace out.